other dark sides, a checkered past for America and the natives over there. You just set that aside. But if we go beyond that, what we try to understand here is it is all about democratization. So it is all about giving equal rights to all the people on this earth. It is all about bringing up the downtrodden. So that's exactly why we have so many revolutions in different parts of the world in different countries. Okay, so the first step itself is the US Declaration of Independence. Unlike the independence that we had, the United States, they had this war. Okay, so they declared themselves independent from Britain. Okay, so they even destroyed the statues of the monarchs from Britain. So they were very much influencing the French people, which initiated the French Revolution. So starting from 1789 and it went up to 1799. So Declaration of Independence is in 1776. Always keep in mind when it comes to history of English literature, the time is very important. Of course, both the time and the place both are very important here, but the time is very important. Kindly note down or always keep in mind because I will once again refer back in my following slides. Now, the French Revolution, how it started? It started with the capture of the present Bastille in France. So in France, the poor people got imprisoned along with the criminals. So they were like, enough is enough. They took up their weapons, like they didn't have guns. Of course, they wanted to have gunpowder, they wanted to have weapons, but before that, many common people, many farmers and people belonging to the working class community, they were they were ready to take up whatever they had, spade or fork or whatever they had, and they went against the soldiers and they fought bravely. Many of them died, of course, before the capture of Bastille. That marked the beginning of the French Revolution because once they captured that prison, they had access to gunpowder, and then little by little they joined as groups, and they were able to develop. They were able to form into a great revolution. So, unfortunately, this revolution didn't go down really well. Of course, people went about killing the king, Louis the Sixth, and then his wife, the queen, Marie Antoinette. Okay, so of course they killed the king and then the queen, but they didn't stop with that. They wanted to kill all the nobles. They wanted to kill what to say everybody they doubted. But anyway, so you have at the end in the 1790s the reign of terror. So the important people like let's say Robespierre and Saint Just and two others who initiated the revolution unfortunately went under the guillotine that they made for the sake of the nobles. So it did not go out, I mean, it did not go down really well. But anyhow, so the French Revolution was a revolution and it did influence the Romantic writers. Okay, so at least the aspect, the essence of French Revolution. Okay, liberty, fraternity, and equality. So freedom. So everybody should be free. Everybody should be considered brothers and sisters. And as a result, all of us should be equal. All of us should have the right to vote. Okay, a common man can also become, let's say, a president or a leader of the world. Okay, so now that was the thing. So, as an extension of this French Revolution, you have the English Reformation Bill. So, 1832, it was just a beginning. So, it was just a beginning of something that was going to take place in the Parliament for the next few years and decades, I should say. So, it is all about the right to vote. So, it is all about equality. So, it was not a revolution with swords and guns, but it was a kind of a revolution that we have to acknowledge. So we have three things. We have three things: Declaration of Independence, the French Revolution, and the English Reformation Bill. So this is the backdrop, and also we can say from the political aspect, these are the important events that took place alongside Romantic literature. Now, so I want to take you people to the Romantic paintings. I want to take you people to the Romantic paintings. Now, Romantic paintings are very important. See, what we students miss out most of the time is that we study literature in isolation. We are not supposed to study literature in isolation. We are supposed to study literature along with paintings, along with music, along with architecture. And on the base, we have the philosophy. On the base, we have the philosophy. So we will also get to the important philosopher of Romantic literature, Romanticism. So Romanticism, when I say Romanticism, uh, it has something to do with the philosophy, starting from philosophy, and it spreads out to art. Okay, and then you have music, you have literature. So there is something called romanticism in chess as well. So how do you play chess? Like the romanticist played. Okay, so these days we have the quick movements. In those days, before the arrival of romanticism, people did not involve in quick movements of the chess game. So the quick movements and the other strategies came as a result of romanticism. So it's a very broad area. So I'm going to take you for a tour. Okay, so kindly now, these are some of the important paintings, the four important paintings from two great romantic painters that I'm going to show you. So let us also discuss some of the details of these paintings. So these paintings represented the political turmoil or the political revolution or the revolution that stood as a backdrop of romantic literature in English. So, before getting into romantic literature in English, we need to understand all these things. Now, so the first painting is the 2nd of May, 1808. It was drawn in 1814 by Francesco Goya. So it's a kind of a companion painting. So it's a kind of a companion painting. So all these paintings are oil canvas. So the 3rd of May 1808 is another painting by Francisco Goya. So these are Spanish paintings depicting the excuse me, the Spanish resistance of Napoleonic conquest of Spain. So just yeah, the next one is the massacre of Caius. The massacre of Caius. Caius is one of the largest islands of Greece, a very important island. So it's a French painting by Eugene Delacroix. So Eugene Delacroix' painting is all about the Ottoman, the Turkish conquest of Greece. The Turkish conquest of Greece. And the next painting is Liberty Leading the People by, once again, Eugene Delacroix. So it's all about commemorating the July Revolution of 1830. So now we will get into the details of these paintings. See, these paintings are very important. So by just looking at these paintings, we will understand the veracity of Romantic literature. So the 2nd of May 1808. So despite French Revolution, despite the motto of the French Revolution, what happened when Napoleon Bonaparte came to power? In the first decade of 19th century, Napoleon Bonaparte wanted to capture or he wanted to conquer at least half of Europe. He wanted to conquer at least half of Europe. And we all know what happened in 1814. So, because of the Battle of Waterloo, where he got defeated to the English people, right? He lost most of his troops in Russia. The same mistake was repeated by Hitler himself. Now, the 2nd of May 1808. The 2nd of May 1808. So, it is the same French soldiers who wanted equality as common people. Now they are subjugating. They wanted these Spanish people under their control. Okay, so this particular scene is very important because the French people had actually gone to Spain in order to help the nation. But unfortunately, they got tricked, and unfortunately, they were butchered, most of them, and they got defeated as well. So only after the defeat of Napoleon Bonaparte, they came to power. That was in 1814. The event took place in 1808. So that is there. The date is given. But after the defeat of the Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, the painting was commissioned. Yeah. Now we'll go to the companion painting that is even more crude. I mean, I'm talking about the event. The 3rd May 1808. It was also painted in the same year, 1814. So, if you can pinch out from your cell phone, just look at the person with the white shirt. He stretches out his arms and he is ready to die like Jesus Christ himself. So if you pinch out and observe his left palm, if you pinch out the screen from your cell phone, if you are having your cell phones with you, and look at this particular left arm of this particular person, so it will look like as if he has a kind of a stigma, the wound of Jesus himself. Of course, we have a few Catholic saints in the Catholic Church with stigmata. We call them stigmatists. So here, you see, it is the common people who are getting killed. It is the common people who are getting killed. So it is exactly at this spot that the Romantic writers, especially Wordsworth, got disappointed. Okay, so with the French Revolution. So after all, despite all these efforts, despite all these things done by the common people coming to power, they only wanted to subjugate other common people from other countries. So this seems to be the situation time and again. So these two things have something to do with the Spanish resistance, the Spanish Revolution. See, even in the past, the Spaniards were ruled by the foreigners, but at this time, they did not. They don't want to be subjugated. They were ready to fight. So many people died in that. That's why it's called a revolution. It's kind of a glorious revolution, even though these people died, most of them. Now, so we'll go to the third painting. The Massacre of Caius. The Massacre of Caius. So this okay. The Massacre of Caius was painted in 1824. The Massacre of Caius was painted in 1824 by the French painter Eugene Delacroix. So this particular painting is just before the massacre. They are not resisting at all. The soldiers, they are about to kill the people who are already tired, who are already worn out, and who don't want to fight. Just look at the faces of these people. Just look at the countenances of these people. So maybe they are just ready to die, or they have no other means to escape or to So this is a kind of a gut-wrenching painting by Eugene Delacroix. So massacre of so this is a kind of a Greece or the Greek painting that tells us something about the sufferings of the common people. See, in all these paintings, it is the common people that suffer a lot. It is the poor, it is the downtrodden that suffer a lot. So I will go to the next painting. Liberty leading the people. Liberty is personified as a woman, and she is holding on to the French banner, the French flag. So, Liberty leading the people. It happened in actually it was painted in 1830. You see, after the defeat of Napoleon Bonaparte, after the defeat of Napoleon Bonaparte, once again the Bourbon Empire, the Bourbon kings, they came to power. Okay, so they wanted to defeat King Charles the 10th. Of course, he was toppled down from his throne, and once again, the French government, the Republic, it came to power. So it was painted in 1830. So most of the people mistake that this painting belongs to the initial French Revolution of the 1780s and 90s. It is not so. It has something to do with the French Revolution, or the Second Revolution is called the July Revolution of 1830. So now before getting back to romantic music, you must have observed these paintings. You must have observed these paintings. See, when it comes to romantic paintings, they show you the outside world. There are two types of paintings here, but only one set of paintings that I have showed you. Okay, so during the time of Raphael, what happened? They started during the age of Enlightenment. They started painting pictures like about Jesus Christ, the Last Supper, and such paintings were painted within the enclosed areas. They were not bothered about what was happening outside at all. So, of course, the pre-Raphaelites brought all these things. So they will be coming after, let's say, 1830s and afterwards. But anyway, so these paintings also have something to do with the outside world. So it has something to do with nature, and also it has something to do with the ordinary people, the downtrodden people who fight against suppression, who fight against all kinds of oppression, who fight against power. Okay, so it is all about equality. So even though we see only defeats in all these three paintings, except for the last one, the liberty leading the people, except for the last one, we see only defeats in the first three paintings. So it is not about winning or losing, it is about fighting. It's about fighting. So this is exactly how I think Wordsworth would say the rustic people are the real people. I am going to write in the language of the common man. Daffodils, we have it in the school. Michael, we have it in the school. Solitary Reaper, we have it in the school. Why? Because we can easily read Wordsworth and understand him, because he has written in the language of the common man, right? So why? The common man lives alongside nature. The common man will protect nature. The common man will protect all kinds of suppression. I mean, will fight against all kinds of oppression. So this is what we see from all these paintings. So we shall I'll be showing you a video. Before that, I would like to talk about the romantic music. Two important composers. Okay, so uh, one is a very important pianist, we can say, and also a very important composer from the Romantic era, Frederick Chopin. So he is my favorite, Frederick Chopin. But along with that, we also have Beethoven. Okay, Ludwig van Beethoven. So I'm not going to play Beethoven's music. I'm going to play Chopin's Revolutionary Etude. So Revolutionary Etude. So Etude Opus 10, number 12. Opus means work. An etude is a short musical composition. So when you look at this, you fully understand what it is. So without understanding, you should not hear. So revolutionary etude. So what is revolutionary etude? See, revolutionary etude was inspired by the 1831 attack of Warsaw. Warsaw is the capital of Poland by Russians. Okay, so Poland was defeated. Poland was defeated. So once again, I think it was called the Glorious Revolution, but Poland resisted. Unfortunately, they got defeated. Even the house of Frederick Chopin was ransacked. So I will show you the video from the movie. So from the movie, in that particular movie, Chopin's friend and fellow composer, we cannot say fellow composer, of course, contemporary Liszt. So he was more famous than Chopin when they were alive. Frederick Chopin was more famous. Liszt was more famous than Chopin. So Liszt will be playing a piece that is a revolutionary etude, that is Chopin's piece, and Chopin's thoughts will be about escaping from Poland and how his house got destroyed, and how people in those days were very much afraid of art. Why should they destroy a piano piece? Why should they burn books? Why should they ban? Because not just pen, art is mightier than sword. We have to keep in mind that art, any form of art, is mightier than sword. I think I will play from YouTube. I'm just looking at it. It is from a movie, but of course the backdrop. If you can't hear, kindly interrupt.
He hasn't secured a single proposal. Not one. Paris has a... In his past 2 years in Paris, he hasn't secured a single proposal. Not one. Paris has a short memory.
Paris will remember him now. Excuse me. France, as we have agreed. Ladies and gentlemen, the immortal Franz Liszt will play several etudes by the new immortal Frederick Chopin.
Okay, dear students. So you must have enjoyed the music. It is very melodious, and I should confess that this is the it is one of the most difficult pieces when it comes to playing on piano because you must have observed the left hand movement. So that itself is revolutionary. So this is all about his emotions and his powerful sentiments for his people. So uh, along with this, I would like to play another piece. So this is purely another side of Chopin. So on one hand, we have we consider Chopin as a revolutionary pianist. But on the other hand, actually, this particular piece acts as a background for a movie that has something to do with the Nazi tortures of the Jews. So it is from the movie The Pianist. These two pieces are one of the most important pieces of music, pieces of romantic music, music belonging to the age of romanticism.
Was machen Sie hier? Verstehen Sie mich?
Ja.
Arbeiten Sie etwa hier?
Nein. Ich bin. Ich war Pianist.
Spielen Sie mal.
Sir,
Sir,
sir, you have muted, sir.
sir,
Sir, sir,
Sir?
Sorry. Cheers. Message the party. Okay. Thank you. I'm extremely sorry. I think I'm audible now. Okay, so I may have to start from this slide. So actually, I was talking about the different forms of music or the different composers and the different paintings, how these different paintings, these different pieces of music have so much to do with the revolutionary aspect of Romanticism. So, where did it take place, Romanticism? The revolutions, they took place in France, England, Poland, Russia, Spain, and Germany. So, most of the time we think Romanticism is all about whatever that took place in England alone. So I think I talked so much, and unfortunately, you did not listen. Anyway, so now, what other terms were attributed? What other terms were attributed to Romantic age? Why? Once again, we are going back to the first question. I mean, the question of why it was considered an age of revolution, political revolution. Now, the actual question is, who was behind the political revolution? Who was behind all these revolutions? Most of these revolutions, which in turn influenced Romanticism, it was none other than Jean-Jacques Rousseau. It was none other than Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who lived between 1712 and 1778. Okay, so Jean-Jacques Rousseau was a genuine philosopher who influenced the French Revolution, and he can be called the father of Romanticism. So he can be called the father of Romanticism. This is Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the philosopher. So actually, I was talking about giving importance to philosophy, no matter what you read in history of English literature. After you have read the social history of England, you have to delve into philosophical movements. You don't have to understand very deeply, but at least at the surface level, if you understand certain philosophical movements, especially, I think there is a particular writer who has written this book, Donald Palmer. I do not know if it is available online. Donald Palmer has written a wonderful book with the title Introduction to Continental Philosophy. Introduction to Continental Philosophy. So, Introduction to Structuralism, he has also written that. So, when we understand philosophy and when we try to compare it with the socio-political events at the backdrop of literature, my perspective is that you will understand literature better. Okay, so now, so Jean-Jacques Rousseau was a philosopher during the time of Enlightenment era. He was not an Enlightenment philosopher. We have to keep in mind, but he was a philosopher during the time of Enlightenment era. So Enlightenment era started in 1637. So with this particular philosopher, René Descartes, so who propagated this famous phrase, "I think, therefore I am." Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. So these people, they started giving importance to reasoning. They started giving importance to criticism, satire, criticizing the church. Okay, so criticizing other traditional metaphysical establishments. Okay, so even John Locke and others. So they wanted to get rid of religion and spirituality. So they thought reason is everything. Reason is everything. So now, so this is my question to you. Ring any bells? So a rhetoric question, because you can connect these people, these philosophers, with Dryden and Pope. Dryden and Pope, of course. Dryden, I think Pope was a Catholic writer, and Dryden may have been very religious, something. Okay, both of them are Catholics. That was totally different anyway. So, but still, their writings lacked the emotional aspect of poetry. And they gave so much importance to reason. They gave so much importance to satire. They gave so much importance to witty things. So much that even T.S. Eliot condemned them. Okay, so you don't have the unification of sensibilities according to the words of T.S. Eliot in the writings of Dryden. So now, because the neoclassical literature was very much part of the Enlightenment era. Okay, so 1662 as 1798. So why 1798? Because in 1798, the publication of lyrical ballads took place. So the first edition. Okay, the second edition came around in 1800. Okay, so kindly give me a few more minutes because I missed out a lot. So now, so that was it. So, and Romanticism was a reaction against Enlightenment era, neoclassical age. Okay, so the neoclassical age is also called as the age of reason. Okay, the age of reason. But somehow, I should say it's a kind of a cycle, like how history repeats itself. Even philosophy repeats itself. Maybe because in philosophy we have positivism and empiricism, and all these things are repeating again and again. And this romantic era, romantic literature, when we say it's a kind of a reaction against neoclassical age, I think now you understand why it is a reaction against neoclassical age, because the romantic writers gave importance to emotions and feelings. So when I ask you, do you like romantic movies? Do you like romantic songs? We always keep in mind, or we always think about some love sequences. So it is not so. So it has something to do with strong emotions. It has something to do with such sentiments, devoid of reasoning, of course, because most of our heroes are romantic heroes. And of course, I think there is this particular dialogue from, I do not know Rajini or Vijay, uh, one of them, he says, I don't listen to this, I listen to this. So that was Jean-Jacques Rousseau. So that was Jean-Jacques Rousseau. So Jean-Jacques Rousseau did not want to listen to this. He wanted to listen to this. And he wrote Confessions. He wrote Confessions. He wrote how he stole apples. He wrote some of the humiliating experiences. Uh, he did not write Confessions in accordance with the writings of previous philosophers who found themselves within the structure of the society. The structure of the society. So, the societal structure itself, according to Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the societal structure itself is very artificial. And this societal structure destroyed the real man that Wordsworth is talking about in Tintin Abbey and also in Michael, in all the poems. So Wordsworth is often behind real man. Why he is behind real man? Because before Wordsworth, the other writers, they wrote about princes, they wrote about kings, they wrote about heroes. Okay, so just how we would like to watch movies of superheroes. We are not worried about the downtrodden people, the ordinary people. So, according to Rousseau, in his Confessions, this is what he tries to. I think in his preface, this is what he writes. So nobody is going to write like me, and nobody has ever written like me. Nobody is going to write like me, and nobody has ever written like me. And in Confessions, Rousseau gives importance to the self over societal structures. So this once again should bring bells in you because once again this aspect of romanticism or this aspect of Rousseau's philosophy, Rousseau's Confessions, have so much to do with modernism. Maybe if we share another class, so I can talk about modernism. So the following are the outcome of his philosophy. Individualism. The individual is important. The individual is important. Love of nature and then freedom. Individualism, love of nature, and then freedom. See, after Romanticism, I think starting from the 1830s, we have the transcendental movement, a kind of a parallel movement taking place in the United States of America. So these transcendental writers, of course, they were very much influenced by the Romantic writers, gave so much importance to individualism and also freedom and love of nature. Now, so in this way, I can say Jean-Jacques Rousseau influenced the French Revolution, subsequently Romantic literature in English, or I can say Romanticism on the whole. Romanticism on the whole. So now, actually, I want to finish with this particular slide because if there's going to be another class, I would like to talk about Romanticism even more because without giving you a foreground, without giving you a basis, I cannot talk about Romanticism because it runs into so many slides. It runs into so many slides because I will be dealing with the definition of Walter Pater. Now, so I'm not giving you the dates. If you go to Wikipedia, you will get the dates. If you read, you will know about the writers and their works. I'm dealing with what we have to. I mean, actually, it's a kind of a discourse in which I would like to talk about going beyond the dates and understanding the essence of Romanticism in the writers, in the paintings, in music, and everything. So now, can I take another 10 minutes? Let me finish with these writers. I would like to know if I can borrow another 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So
And
I don't get any
audience, if
response.
you have any questions, you can ask, sir. The feedback is posted in the chat box. Feedback link, kindly fill the feedback.
Okay. Anyway, I'll go ahead with this. Once again, the professors and students, I'm just looking at the slides and explaining to the students. I'm not looking at the Google Meet dashboard or something, even the messages. So kindly interrupt me by making use of the mic, or you can call me. Now, how would you place the English Romantic writers? How would you place the English Romantic writers? So we started with the question of why, and we got the answers from all the revolutions that took place, and how all these revolutions affected the common and the downtrodden people, and how these revolutions were just upheavals because they were revolutions, even though most of the people were defeated, they fought. They fought because they wanted to revolt, they wanted freedom, they wanted equality. So these ideologies, these ideas came from John Rousseau. So the idea of individualism, individual rights, the concept of society, and the idea of how the common man should be given importance. So all these things we see in Rousseau's confession. Now, so I have taken up just four important writers. Of course, I have left out Byron, and once again, mostly Blake. William Blake is also considered a romantic writer, or by certain writers, he is considered as a precursor to romantic literature. So, in certain books, his name is not included at all. Anyway, I will start with William Wordsworth. I think I will be able to complete in another 10 minutes. So, William Wordsworth, so when it comes to William Wordsworth, we have his seminal work. Clinton Abbey. So when it comes to William Wordsworth, we have his seminal work, Clinton Abbey. So this particular work gives you how, it tells you how Wordsworth is a worshipper of nature. So this particular poem is divided into 5 stanzas. So it celebrates nature, and Wordsworth goes beyond celebrating nature, and he gets into the transcendental mode of understanding nature. So this particular transcendental mode has something to do with the Hindu religion as well, how the Atma becomes the Paramatma, or how the soul merges with the one entity, the supreme entity, which he tries to call nature. Okay, so here he behaves as a high priest of nature. So when it comes to William Wordsworth, what are the take-home points that we have? So the rustic man is the real man. That is on one hand. And on the other hand, he tries to say, I am going to write the language of the common man. I'm going to write the language of the common man. I'm not going to use any difficult words. So here, the classical writing and the kings and the queens and the noble people, these elements were brought down from the pedestal. They were brought down from the pedestal. And thirdly, Wordsworth became an ardent lover of nature. Wordsworth became an ardent worshipper of nature. And fourthly, we have to understand, summarizing all these things, the mysticism of Wordsworth. So Wordsworth is very idiosyncratic in understanding nature. So now we will move to Coleridge. In understanding Coleridge, you have to read the Rime of the Ancient Rhyme. So if Wordsworth should admire the beauty of daffodils, Coleridge would go out run and observe the lightning and the thunder. So, according to Coleridge, at certain times, nature is a cruel teacher. Okay, so the magical side of nature, the supernatural element of nature, so is presented by Coleridge, but sometimes he uses bombastic words, and Coleridge is one person who literally wants to escape from reality. He goes into a magical world, or he goes to the cast when it comes to Kubla Khan. Okay, so that was Coleridge. That was Coleridge. So these two were the senior writers when it comes to the younger generation. So we can take up Shelley. So if we should take up Shelley, so I think by understanding Ode to the West Wind, we know how rebellious Shelley is. Like a person who wants, I think he should be considered the son of the French Revolution, or the revolutionary aspect of romantic literature, because in the poem he writes these words: "If I were a cloud or a wind, so lift me up." Just offers to the west wind, "Why don't you lift me up like a cloud? Because I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed." So the west wind, the powerful west wind, is nothing but the alter ego of Shelley. The alter ego of Shelley. So Shelley, we all know, he was expelled from the university for writing the revolt in Islam and the necessity of atheism. So Shelley represents the revolutionary side of romantic literature. So the mystical side of romantic literature is represented by William Wordsworth. The revolutionary side of romantic literature is represented by Shelley. And of course, the supernatural side or the magical side of romantic literature is the extravagant, what to say, taking literature, taking art to a distant land, to a remote place. So all these aspects we see, all these aspects of imagination we see in the works of Coleridge. So finally, I would like to finish with Keats. Finally, I would like to finish with Keats. I will give you the definition maybe at the end of the presentation about the Romanticism. So Keats was totally different. He should be considered a pure poet, or a person is so pure that he did not involve himself in any of the political agenda of Romanticism. He wrote for the sake of nature, and he loved nature. Beauty is truth, and truth beauty. That's what he says. So beauty is truth, and truth beauty. A thing of beauty is joy forever. Okay, so this is what we read in Endymion, and also this is what we read from Ode on a Grecian Earth. So he is also considered the most sensuous of all the other poets. So of all the other poets, he is considered the most sensuous, because there are so many instances that we can see from Ode on a Grecian Earth. So the heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter, because it affects the sense of hearing. So imagery, in the sense, is not about painting pictures in mind. Imagery means painting pictures in mind. But Keats goes beyond that. The Romantic writers, they went beyond that. It's not just about painting pictures in mind. So it is all about affecting all the senses. Affecting all the senses. So it affects the sense of hearing. And the lover wants to run after the lady love, and he wants to touch her. So it has something to do with the sense of touch. Okay. So that was Keats. That was Keats. So these are some of the elements. So these are some of the individual aspects of all the four Romantic writers. So having said all these things, I would like to go to the question, what is romanticism? What is romanticism? What is romanticism? The essential elements of romantic spirit are curiosity and the love of beauty. The essential element of romantic spirit are curiosity and the love of beauty. I think I will stop with this quote, curiosity and love of beauty. So the curiosity that we see in the works of Wordsworth has something to do with his own mysticism. He wants to understand, he wants to know more about nature. And also, the curiosity that we find in the works of uh, Coleridge has something to do with his own way of describe nature, what to say. So, dovetailing the supernatural aspect of it. Okay. So, and also in addition to these things, we see how Shelley and Keats they give importance to the imagination. They give importance to uh, how one can love nature or how one can appreciate the beauty of nature. So maybe if there is going to be another class, I think maybe I will explain this particular definition, but otherwise I think I will stop at this junction.
Sorry, sir. I'm attending refresher course as well, so I was not able to concentrate fully on the webinar. And may I call upon Deepika to propose the order?
Good morning, everyone. I take a moment to show my gratitude to our resource person, Mr. Twin Anthony Edward, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of English, St. Xavier's College, Palayamkottai, Tirunelveli, for amusing and educating us on Romantic Age. Thank you, sir. I would also like to thank our teachers and Department of English for arranging valuable webinars to benefit students. And I thank each and every one of you who participated in this webinar. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your valuable inputs.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And students, the feedback link is posted again. Kindly fill the feedback and then exit from it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, if you want, you can leave the meet, sir. Thank you.